and welcome to Senior Spot. I'm Jenn Quinn, your host, and I'm very pleased today to have two members of the Cooperative Elder Services team. We have here Michelle Holmberg, who is the site director over at the Concord location, and then we also have Erica Johnson, who is the executive director of all of the Cooperative Elder Services locations. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here today, and really excited for the audience to be able to learn more about what Adult Day Health is, because that's your specialty. So CES stands for Cooperative Elder Services, and your focus is Adult Day Health.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd love for one of you to be able to explain to us what is Adult Day Health.
Yeah.
I think it's three different words that we understand individually, but all together I'm not so sure.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
I think that speaks to actually the larger community, that people probably have heard the term but really don't understand the fantastic service that we can provide. We are a day program, so we're only open Monday through Saturday. People come during the day. It's not a residential, and in fact our services are designed to help people stay living in their own homes so that they don't have to go into a nursing home.
Which I love, of course.
Exactly.
Okay.
Keeping people in the community is our mission, and maintaining their health and their quality of life. So what that means is they come to us during the day. They engage in fun activities, there's socialization, and a critical component, though, is we do have the on-site RNs to provide medical oversight during the day.
That really differentiates you from other adult day programs, which are phenomenal, but they may not have that component of the health piece. So, and for a lot of people, their loved one might be at that point where that's a very essential piece of the, of the needs that they have.
Exactly.
So, all right, so you are executive director,
Yes.
and you have multiple locations.
Yes.
So
yes.
can you tell us each and every one of the locations, where are they?
Yes, so Cooperative Elder Services was founded in 1979, so we've been doing this for quite a while now.
So you know what you're doing.
Yes, we like to think so.
Well
we hope
before
so.
this really became, a
Yes.
mainstream type of approach and a solution.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And one thing the agency has always strived to do through the decades is really stay on top of what are the best practices, what's the best approach to meeting the needs so that people can stay living in their community and caregivers can get that respite.
Sure.
So we have the 5 locations, one in Arlington, Burlington, Concord, Groton, and Milton. So we're rather spread out.
Yes.
Through that, we actually reach 58 towns and communities, which is very
Amazing.
large.
Well, I know in the area in which my clients are from, primarily they're going to the Concord location or to the Groton location. And the Concord location is where Michelle is the program director. So where are you in Concord? Can you share with us whereabouts in Concord you are?
Absolutely. So we are conveniently located just behind Emerson Hospital off of Route 2.
That is very convenient. I think
it
most
is.
people do know where that is, so that doesn't make it too difficult. So you explain what your mission is and what the role is in terms of what services you can provide to the community. Now, who would be a good fit? We have people with varying needs. You have physical needs, you have memory impairment. So in terms of a combination, or who would you say would be a good fit to be a participant in this type of program?
We really do have a wide variety of needs. Primarily those that are coming to us are people who are dealing with chronic medical conditions or do have some form of memory loss. We are known as experts for working with those with dementia or Alzheimer's. So we find that it's folks who are happy in their homes, but for some reason their safety might be at risk being home alone during the day, and their caregiver might still need to work full time. And they come to us, and it offers a peace of mind and respite to the caregivers, and it offers the participant that opportunity to get some socialization. We know isolation, I think so many studies have shown the impact that isolation can have on overall health. So by coming to us, there's that engagement in activities, there's that, being in an environment with their peers. We also offer a nutrition component. So we find that some folks who actually live completely independently, they're home alone in their house, and their physical health might prevent them from being able to really maneuver making large meals in the kitchen and going to the grocery stores,
Sure.
as you know very well.
It's true. And you touched upon, if somebody has to go to work, but also it's for the folks that, the caregivers that may need a break.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes people need a break from each other. Let's just face it, okay? If it's family, you know, you just need a break from one another, and that might be a really good way to get all of those, you know, all of those individual types of bonuses that you get. But certainly it's for, you know, it's a respite for family, for the, or whoever the caregiver might be, and having someone be able to go someplace. I am a very big fan, as you know, of adult day programs. You know, owning my company, I see it as a real balance in what people need. And it's also different personalities. I have some clients where being there and socializing would be the very last thing on their list of to-dos and likes. And then you have folks that have always been very social. So I feel like it really meets the needs of a lot of people and what they need to continue to stay healthy.
Exactly.
So the Concord site. I'm most familiar with the Concord site. Anytime I walk in, I see people engaged in activities. I see staff always on their feet or working with somebody. You have different areas. Could you just describe physically, like your location? There's a big room. What else? I mean, I like how it's broken up, so I would like the audience to understand it.
Sure. So a big part of our day is focused on providing different programs, giving people variety and opportunity and the chance to choose what they want to do. And so to that end, we try to have a few different spaces going at any one time, get people up and moving, changing scenery. So you walk in and there's a large open space at our site where first thing in the morning folks are sitting down and having breakfast and socializing, catching up with their friends. And then we transition into one of our other rooms. We have a large open space, which is ideal for exercise in the morning, large activities. We have a quieter room off to the side. It gets a lot of sunlight. There's a lot of windows. That's perfect for our yoga classes that we do or when we're having a watercoloring program. And then we have even more space down at the other end on the other side of our kitchen. And so we will use that when we're doing baking or we're doing cooking classes and people talking about what it used to mean to them to cook for their families or bake particular meals.
I love how the kitchen is set up in there. It's very central and it's very easy. It reminds you of a kitchen in a home where everybody's standing around maybe an island or just a central place where people are. And I noticed too that, you know, you have some of the office space behind as well, but you have rooms for privacy. You have rooms where people are able to see the nurse or whatnot and maybe just some time to just be in your own element and quiet down.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's a really nice mix. Depending on how someone's feeling that day, you don't always have to feel the same way.
Absolutely.
You're allowed to feel a different way in a different day. And I think my favorite spot there, though, is the outside, the terrace that you have outside.
Beautiful.
And I'm not sure how many days in the summertime you're able to use it because it's so hot lately. But certainly, you know, that's a really nice place, and you have plantings and things, you know, for people to be able to do that. So
we are fortunate to have that space.
Yeah, it's very nice. And, you know, in the other locations, I would imagine, you know, in Arlington and, you know, you're in a city. You know, you walk out the door, you're in a city. So it's a very different, you know, but people that have always lived in the city, that's very, you know, typical for them and comfortable for them. So you have different settings. So the other locations, and obviously Groton is very similar to like a Concord, you know, where the setting is, and that is over by at River. I always said
Court.
River Court over in Groton, which is a beautiful location.
Yes, the campus there is wonderful.
It is, but I think it's great, you know, in terms of the other locations. It really fits where the community, what the community is kind of revolves around.
Exactly.
You know, in terms of their day-to-day lives. So I know that there are, you know, different skill level, different sets of people that are actually employed and working in the building. So besides the nurse and besides the site directors, who else is in the building providing, you know, some interaction? And
we have service coordinators at all of our sites, and their role is really that case management and providing that coordination of care. And it's not just focused on the care they're receiving within adult day health, but it's making sure that there is contact and collaboration happening with everyone in each individual person's treatment team.
Okay.
So we have quite a few folks who come to us during the day but get help in their home, either in the evening or first thing in the morning. So making sure that we're talking with those staff that are going into the home so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, you're excellent communicators. I know that.
Great to know.
You're definitely excellent communicators.
It's so important to making sure that the person's needs are being met. And we know health status can change so quickly, and what happens in the home, if we're not finding out during the day, then we're not able to do the best job possible for meeting their needs.
Absolutely. And I know that you have activities specialists and people that are in there. Maybe you don't call them that. I'm not sure. Every place has a different name. But you have activities folks that are able to really, pinpoint interests and trivia. And I mean, I've been in there and I just see people are really engaged. It's really funny because you'll see the same men. It'll be the men's, a men's table, all men sitting around the table. So it's good that you have the activities to get people to kind of mingle and to interact with one another. So you mentioned that it's Monday through Friday. Is it the same at all sites? It's a Monday through Friday?
Our Arlington Center provides a Saturday program, and people can come from any of the sites to that one on Saturdays. Yep, so we do have folks from all of our other sites actually that will attend Saturdays in Arlington.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat because folks will then get to kind of meet others from outside of their area, and it's been a really good
Well,
good
you
mix.
think of if a loved one wanted to maybe go into the city, go into Arlington, there's so many things to do there.
Exactly.
Maybe get some things done and, and know that their loved one's going to be in a trusted environment that's might be a different location, but the same philosophy and the same mission.
And in fact, staff who work at the other centers do work in Arlington on Saturdays, so they're probably going to walk in and see at least one familiar face.
Oh,
and
that's great.
we do have the transportation as well on Saturdays, so similar to during the week, so folks don't even necessarily need to worry about driving to and from.
Oh, so tell me a little bit more about the transportation, because that definitely is, it's difficult in the morning sometimes getting everything ready and organized, and we do have a lot of I'm sure your folks are either sons or daughters of people that are still working, and how do you get to work? How do you get mom or dad to where they need to be? So can you tell me a little bit more about the transportation arrangements?
Sure. Do you want to? Absolutely, yeah. So there's a couple of different ways people come and go from our site. We work with some really great transportation vendors that we're responsible for contracting with, and they just doorstep to doorstep pick our folks up and drop them off and really provide that tremendous care that we know can be nerve-wracking for people. What is it like when my loved one is heading out the door into a van or a bus with somebody? We also work very closely with councils on aging and different assisted living facilities in the area. We do have folks coming to us from all over the place. So we do the best we can to work with everybody in their particular needs, what time of day they need to be coming in, what time of day they need to be heading out, if they need special transportation considerations. We try to work with everybody on that.
We have vans that are wheelchair accessible, so that way any ambulatory issues are fully able to be accommodated.
That's great. Well, and I know that the space in Concord is so wide open, which really is helpful, because there are a number of folks that I've seen at the Concord site that that are in wheelchairs and need that extra space. So that's great to know the transportation is available as well. And Michelle, when you touched upon something that kind of jogged my memory in terms of another question, which has to do with, you mentioned different times of the day. So when someone is looking into services, do they have to go all 5 days? Can they go a few days? Can they go a half day? Not everybody's ready to start out and just jump right in. And maybe that's not the solution anyways. So how does that work?
That's a great question. We work with the individuals who are providing care. And so to that end, we don't try to dictate your loved one must come to us 5 days a week, they must come here at this time, they must leave at that time. We're here to be of help to the people in the community. So we have people who do come 5 days a week, and they come in shortly after I open up the front door, and they're with us towards the end of the day. And we have other people who come once a week, and it's their socialization time. It's their opportunity to catch up with their friends and get out of the house for a little bit. So we really try to meet the needs of the community. That's what we're here for. That's why our doors are open in the first place. So it really depends on what a particular individual wants, what they can handle throughout the day as well. As Erica mentioned, we have people coming in with all sorts of different needs or areas of consideration, and so we're here to be flexible.
Oh, that's great, because like I said, not everybody's ready to jump in, and it may not be necessary. I know that sometimes easing into something too, and so I like the fact that it's individualized. It's not one size fits all. And as someone's needs may change over time, so can their schedule as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think it goes so far with helping folks who might be a little nervous about coming to our program and are feeling a little bit pushed maybe by caregivers. The fact that we can ease them in and offer maybe just a half day for a couple of weeks, come one half day. And what we find is actually after about 2 to 3 weeks, those folks who were nervous at first are asking to come 2 to 3 full days.
Yes.
So they meet their friends, they get into the routine.
Well, it's a big compliment to what you're able to do there too, and one of the things that I know that I've personally witnessed is that we had a client that did go to the program, and it was highly recommended by myself, and the family followed along and said, okay, well, we'll give this a try. Well, they felt guilty because the person didn't want to go, and that's a really hard thing to deal with. So I said, well, why don't you try to propose it as something that's actually going to be a big help to you, because you're going to be able to do something. And of course, that appealed to the person. So the gentleman goes, has a wonderful time, even on the first day, gets picked up, and what does he say to the wife? Oh, it was terrible. I didn't have a good day.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Isn't that funny? So it's it's one of those things where it's hard sometimes to admit how much you like something.
Sure.
Because you're feeling uncomfortable about it. So I think it's that was just, and that's happened multiple times, by the way. But that one particular story sticks with me, in that and I said, now I actually will tell the family, don't be surprised if they say it wasn't a great time. If you were to show up maybe 10 minutes earlier and look from another room or something, you'd see a very different, very different thing. So
that's such a good example too of complementary services working together and recognizing the need and trying to make sure someone can get the service that they need.
Absolutely, and actually that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is how you are working together with other services. You mentioned transportation. Certainly you mentioned, if they have additional support at home with home care or even just, a family caregiver, to be able to make sure that there's communication and coordination. What other types of services do you work with? And you mentioned counsel on aging as well.
Yeah, so we rehab services, we know a lot of our folks will need some the period of time they might need some PT or OT or speech therapy. So we do consultations with therapists. They can actually come in and provide treatment on site during the program day, so it does not disrupt someone's typical schedule. We will work with VNAs as well. I think especially when someone's getting discharged from a hospital, that coordination between the medical offices, in-home care, our day program, any follow-up appointments with specialists, our nurses and social service coordinators will do a lot with helping families to coordinate some of those follow-up appointments.
Oh, that's great. I like that. I like that the typical regular schedule and routine doesn't necessarily need to be interrupted, and especially those with memory impairment, that consistency, that that regular familiarity is really important, and especially after a hospitalization where it can be very traumatizing.
Yes, exactly.
And speed up a lot of the decline. So in that way, they're just coming in and doing it there. That's a wonderful coordinating piece. I never would have thought of the VNA going in and doing that. That's great. Because otherwise, if they're there all day, when are they going to be able to come? And we know that their schedules are very challenging. And so when they show up, it's, it may not be, it may not be the exact time, but it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because of the
Right,
fact
they're
that
just
they're
there
there.
in the day,
No, that's
yes.
great.
Yeah.
So, all right, it all comes down to food a lot of times.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I want to ask about the food. So you mentioned breakfast.
Yep.
And I'm assuming there's lunch.
Yes.
And so how is that done? I mean, do you bring in a service? What do you do?
Yeah, we work with an outside vendor. It gets delivered to us hot. It goes in the oven hot. And once we get everybody seated, the way we do it in Concord is we have a special cart and we serve it tableside for people, which they really love because they have the opportunity to tell us, a little light on that, or
A little more rice, a little less vegetable, all that stuff.
Sure. And it also provides the opportunity for the staff who would otherwise be in the kitchen helping to prep, that opportunity to have that face time
that's
to
great.
connect with people one-on-one as well.
Sure.
So we have lunch in the middle of the day, and then we also provide a snack in the afternoon before people head home.
Okay.
Our lunch program is, we do follow the federal guidelines as well to make sure that we're hitting all the key nutritional components. And it's specifically a hot meal for those folks who might not really be getting that level of a meal.
It's true. It's
in
almost
the
like
home.
flipping dinner and lunch, just in
Exactly.
case, because sometimes people are going home and may not be able to attend to a hot meal and prepare it. And maybe the family, it would be hard for them. So you kind of flip-flop it.
Exactly, and we always appreciate feedback from folks on
Yep.
quality. I think you're right in that it's such a driving force to if someone's going to come back or not at times.
It is. Food is important,
Yes.
and that's something that's one of the first things that will come out of someone's mouth after a hospitalization, rehab, anything, a visit, a dinner out, whatever. I mean, everybody has something to say.
Yeah.
So that's really, I really like the idea that the staff is involved in doing that too. And I've seen it firsthand where everybody chips in. It doesn't matter if you're
Right.
the site director,
Right.
if your activities, if you're, if you're doing any sort of, I don't know, maintenance work, or I mean,
Right.
whomever is on your staff is jumping in, which is really
Exactly.
nice. Everybody's equal, and I know that of course everybody forms special bonds and things with people, and that makes it great too, because then everyone's very accessible,
Exactly.
which is different. All right, so considerations. If someone were considering Cooperative Elder Services and everything that now they've learned from this show to understand about your program, if they were considering it, what are some of the important initial considerations that you would recommend that they think about?
I think it really comes down to why would they even consider us to begin with? So what's happening in their life and in their situation that they're looking for some additional supports. And the next step would really be just pick up the phone and give us a call. We have a lovely staff member who takes those initial phone calls and will answer
So you
any
wouldn't
questions.
be calling the individual site, you would call the main number, okay?
Yes, yeah,
And then
yeah.
you help in terms of the geography.
Exactly.
And
Right.
and it doesn't necessarily, sometimes I bet you have folks that live in one town, but they're driving to work in the town, and they might choose to do a different location. So I want to make it clear too that you're not confined to the area in which you live in, that it's really flexible. Okay.
Absolutely, and that's why we really try to have that centralized point of contact, because she can really help the families and the participants decide kind of what's going to make sense in their life, what are their needs,
Sure.
and location can be such a huge factor.
Well, and I bet a lot of people wouldn't even consider that as an option. So I'm sure you walk them through that.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's one of the initial considerations is location and how you're going to be able to do that.
Yes.
What other questions do you think are great questions that that you are asked that would be helpful for folks to know to ask?
How do we pay for it?
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, food and how do we pay for it?
Absolutely. That's and rightfully so. That's one of the first questions people do ask. And we are an insurance-funded program, so there are certain types of insurance that will cover us for Mass Health. At the VA, we have several VA contracts, and the state home care. So like Minuteman Senior Services, Montechusett. They will, if someone's deemed eligible by them, they will often fund some of the days of service by us.
Okay.
And we have some private pay folks too.
Oh, sure.
That will either add to anything that an insurance company is funding, or they might choose to just pay privately. So
Okay.
there's many options, and again, that the person taking that initial call can speak to specifics with a family member or the participant. Any questions they have, they're able to walk them through that.
And when you mention insurances, is it people automatically go towards private insurance? Is that something that
At this time, unfortunately, most private insurances do not.
Yeah, I
fund
figured
us.
that was the
Yeah.
case, but I just wanted to clarify that. What about long-term care insurance?
We have several folks who the long-term care insurance does not pay us directly. What it is the families will pay privately, and then we give them a detailed invoice,
Yes.
and they're able to get
Yep.
reimbursed.
Yep, and that's what we do. We submit all the information, and so that they can get exactly what they deserve after doing all of that.
Exactly.
So these are the considerations. The process is to be able to call up the central number, figure out, and start from there. From start to finish, I mean, after you make that call and you say, yes, we're on board, we want, so-and-so to come and these days, and okay, then what are the next steps? I mean, are there some screening process? Like, what happens next?
It's not necessarily a screening. There's definitely some information we need to gather. We do need to get medical authorizations. So someone's primary care doctor does need to essentially sign an order for us.
Okay.
I will say that's probably the piece that sometimes can extend that intake process. However, our staff are phenomenal about just following up with doctors' offices to get it sent back.
Well,
so.
and I'm sure they're thrilled that this is an option that their patients have and that they're able to use.
Yeah.
And obviously that directly connects you to them in terms of any health concerns
Right.
that your nurses
Yes.
may come up with, and that opens up those lines of communication too.
Absolutely. That often is the next step after they send us the medical records. The nurses review.
Okay.
And any questions, they will contact the doctor's offices, and they're phenomenal. They they see the value in this service, and they want to make
Absolutely,
sure
I
we're
do
prepared.
too. You
So,
bet, absolutely.
yeah.
And that's with HIPAA and everything, it's a good way to be able to have that where you are allowed to speak to people and you're allowed to communicate and all of that.
Yeah.
So if you were to come up with, because we have a minute left, if you were to come up with one word maybe to describe your programs, what would it be?
Necessary.
That's awesome.
And speaking from the testimonials
No, but it
we've
is
gotten
so
from families
true.
and participants.
That is a great word, necessary. Okay, Michelle, what about you?
I was going to say supportive.
Okay, it's a supportive, necessary service. How about that? That kind of wraps
That
it up.
works.
Okay,
That works.
So Cooperative Elder Services, with all of its locations, would be the necessary supportive program that someone might be looking for adult day health. So I'm really glad that you came on the show today to be able to let us experience a little bit of what adult day health can offer and the options, and it's really important. So Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're very happy to have you in Concord as the site director. And thank you, Erica, great executive director of Cooperative Elder Services.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.